Thanks.
This is our first podcast and video of what's the name of this? Because we're on the mat here and we're sitting on a heavy bag.
Well, you got
heavy
a good
bag
point.
talks. I don't know. Heavy bag talks on the mat.
On the mat.
Heavy, on the mat. I don't know. Maybe there's already an on the mat. There might be an already an on the mat or heavy bag talks or free Patriot podcast because you got the patriotic thing going.
Yeah, with the hat. So.
We could actually it's a father-son talk.
Wait, we should introduce ourselves first.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, so my name is Owen. I'm 16. I'm a junior currently.
Yeah.
And, well, you go.
That's it? That's all you want to introduce yourself about?
Yeah, I could say some
Just
more.
a little bit? Just a little bit?
Just a little bit more.
You don't want to give them too much first?
Yeah, I'm half Japanese as well and half American. I'm a mixed pot.
Nihongo shiteru?
知っているよ、日本語。
嘘つき。
嘘つきではない。
Oh, yeah.
Alright, you go.
All right, yeah. My name is Stephen Brown. I was born in Chicago, Illinois. I was raised in Kansas and Texas. I am a veteran. I served aboard the USS Kitty Hawk CV-63. Hello, all my shipmates out there. And all my brothers and sisters out there currently serving. Thank you for your service. I need to get rid of the ums. This is our first podcast. So I'm 42, so I'm a Gen Xer. I have a mixed bag of views. And apparently my son seems to think somebody out here wants to hear them.
I think a lot of people would like to hear them because I told your stories before and they hit. They like them.
So I guess my son, I guess he talks a little more than he's supposed to sometimes, but I guess we all kind of get like that. I've been around the world a lot. I've been to many places. I've seen many countries. I've made many friends, and I really look forward to what this podcast might bring. And I really look forward to hearing some of you guys' ideas on what a name could be for it.
Maybe a few questions too.
Yeah, or send us questions too. So yeah, on to the topic. What do you want to talk about today, man? We're on the mat here. We're
All right. So let's see how dangerous you are. What do you know?
What do I know?
Yeah,
I don't know.
What you learned
about what?
On the mat. We're on the mat.
I learned a lot of self-control. So it taught me being on the mat taught me how to assess the situations quickly, a lot faster. When you're competing with someone and it has to do with chokes and locks and stuff, it's a little more high stakes. Then I don't want to take anything away from wrestling, because wrestling is your world, and it's a wonderful world. I really think that girls should get into jiu-jitsu and really early get your daughters in jiu-jitsu or judo, and get your sons in wrestling. Also get your daughters in wrestling too, because wrestling is a wonderful sport. But if your daughter isn't a tough girl, and I mean, you know the difference between tough girls and girls that aren't so tough, because we all have guys that are tough and girls that are guys that are tough and guys that aren't so tough as well. Well, girls are the same spectrum, if that is a spectrum of toughness. That's the only spectrum I'll talk on. As far as that goes, but some girls are tougher than others, and it shows, right? So those tough girls, where were we at with that one? I lost it there. I was going somewhere with this one.
Well, let's talk about the benefits of martial arts first.
Well, okay, so the tough girls, get your tough girls in wrestling, and get your girls that aren't really into the whole like aggressive side of it. Get them into the judo. Well, judo's pretty aggressive, so get them in. Get boys into judo too. Judo's no joke. But get your girls that aren't really like, okay, how can I explain it? All right, a 98-year-old person can do jujitsu starting out and still come back and do classes if they're in the right school. So if your daughter is dainty and she doesn't like the whole push and shove and the whole, get her into the jujitsu side and you learn how to do things. It's still aggressive, don't get me wrong, but you also learn how to do things a little more tactfully, and you get to do things like setups, and there's a lot of trickery involved. It's a wonderful thing to do. And in all of it, there's a lot of trickery involved. But I've studied also Muay Thai, boxing, Japanese kickboxing. So I do know a lot of martial arts. And I also am a coach. So I've coached quite a few gentlemen, and all which are still pretty much active now, or I'd like to see active.
And fighting.
I would love to see. I know one person out there that he knows who I'm talking about, that I really love to see him back in the game. I know that he had a few obstacles. I don't know. We've kind of parted ways, but I know that he's a good man. I know he has a baby, but I know he's also younger than me, and he could tear up a lot of these bantamweights out here today, baby. I know he could. And hopefully, his mind wasn't right, so we had to separate ways for a little while. But maybe just one day, you'll be able to see him. Because if he actually put his nose to the grindstone and worked instead of chasing the 2 W's, then he would have actually probably already been a UFC champion today.
I still think he can be.
Well, yeah, he can be.
Let's get back to the topic at hand. How long have you been fighting? How long have you been learning?
Since the playground, my son. The first fight I ever got into, I was a kindergartner. So, pretext to this, my dad is Ed Brown. Harlan Ed Brown. He raised me as his own. He didn't have to, which is a very honorable thing for any man to do, to take a kid in that is not their own, or woman to do, and to raise them. It's a very honorable thing, or put a hand into raising them, and that's something we have to give props to your new mom, my wife Madison. She stepped up and she's helped raise you, so that's helped out a lot in your life too. So you have a positive woman as a role model that you can look at, and to further relationships. But getting away from that, where were we going back to? I'm okay. Getting off track here.
The kindergarten fights.
Okay, yeah. So my dad, Ed Brown, he takes me, and he's an Irish Scottish guy. So he's a tough woodsman. He's from Kansas. He's one of them guys that talks like this, and he's like, man, I'll ask him, Dad, stop eating all that candy for Halloween. Man, fuck them kids. He's one of them guys, but he's a great guy. But he took me outside, and he was like, hey, listen here, boy. If anybody gives you any shit, you punch them right square in the nose. You hear me? And that's exactly how he said it. He goes, you punch them right square in the nose. You hear me? And I was like, okay, Dad. All right. So, first day of kindergarten, I'm in Miss Dayhoff's class, and I remember it like it was yesterday. And I had this button-up brown shirt that I hated, that my mom made me wear with the fucking rhinestone buttons. I'm sorry, I shouldn't cuss. I gotta keep this PG. With rhinestone buttons, maybe we can bleep that out. With rhinestone buttons, and I hated it. But anyway, I jumped up into the line, and this kid pushed me back. And I was like, I was first. And he goes, no, I was first. And, back then, being first in line, when you're a little kid, being first in line is like, that's that's bragging rights. Like, I'm first. It was important. Well, I don't understand it. But, even now, being first is important, the competitive side. And he pushed me back. And without hesitation, I hit him right square in the nose, and his nose started bleeding. And Miss Dayhoff grabbed me, and without missing a beat, she goes, "What did you do, you little spick?" And I was like, "Ugh." You know, ah! And then, you know, she marched me to the principal's office, and then they sent me home, and then I asked my mom when I got home, I was like, "Mom, what's a spick?" And she goes, who said that to you? I said, Miss Dayhoff called me a little spick when I punched you. Whoo! My mom marched right back to the school and was like, "Oh, no. If you're going to be racist, ma'am, you better get it right. You better call him a guinea or a wop." So, you know, but, you know, it was one of those, like, probably, you know, Miss Dayhoff was a wonderful lady. She was not a racist by any means. She was, it was one of those, I was the new kid in town, and let me tell you, I was a crazy kid. I was one of those wild childs, because I was 110 mile an hour a minute dude. You know what I'm saying? I would go, and I liked a different girl every day. That's how I was when I was a kindergartner. So, yeah, that was my first fight I ever had. Ever. And that wasn't really a fight. I just busted him in his nose, and that shit was over like that. So, you know, it was just fast. And most fights happen fast. And that's one thing that you have to realize in the street is that most fights are starting to finish so quickly that you don't even know you're in one sometimes. You have to see the signs, you know. So, anyway, yeah. What about you? What's the first time you ever got into a fight? Let's talk about yours. What's up with you now?
All right, I've always been a calm kid.
Put me on the spot.
Well, you know that I've always been a calm kid, especially growing up. I learned a little quickly, other than compared to other kids, and
You tend to pick up things quickly, yeah.
yeah. Well, the first fight happened after I was told I needed to stand up for myself. So what happened was, I was sitting in class.
Did we have that talk?
Yeah, we had that talk.
Yeah,
Because
what
the
did I say
kid
to you?
smeared poop on the back of my shirt, remember?
Yeah, in Japan,
In Japan, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I came back home, I just
And
said,
I had always told you what?
stand up for yourself.
No. Before that, what did I tell you?
Could you tell me again?
I always told you not to use it. Because I always taught him, I taught him how to box. And I taught him how to wrestle early. You know, just dad stuff. You know, you wrestle around with your kid. You teach him, hey, you got to stick up for yourself. You got to learn that kids are going to say mean things to you. You got to learn this and this and this. I didn't go into the kid's mean thing. I just taught him how to defend himself and made it fun. And then I told him, don't use it unless you have to. Don't use it. And if you do, I'm going to be mad at you. Right? And so you were kind of scared to do it, right? Weren't you scared if I would get mad if you did something wrong like that, or no?
No. Well, really, I didn't care at that point because
You're just a kid. You don't realize,
yeah.
Huh? Yeah, I get it.
I just saw, accident.
All right, so what happens?
So what happened was I noticed the severity of what just happened and how the kid smeared poop and the rest of the class laughed at me. So the next day I see him at the park. So I go up.
Is this the school park or the public park?
Public park.
Oh,
not school park.
We in the public park now. We know public park.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're at the public park and I see him. And I told him, why'd you smear poop across my shirt? Well, comes back with saying, I thought it was funny. So what I did was I snapped, and after that, I picked him up, slammed him on the ground. He got up, so I chased him, and he ran away. And
was there another kid that came back after you?
Oh, okay. He came back with his brother and a whole bunch of other 6th grade kids. And
then what happened? Was that is that like one of those?
Yeah.
Was it what happened? Well,
Okay.
Let's hear.
What happened was a water balloon fight. Come to find out, I was the target.
Oh, okay.
So
and then what'd you do?
I got hit with a bunch of balloons, so that was it at the end of that.
You got hit with a bunch of balloons and there was no fight back? Because I remember a little bit different. I remember 2 fights that happened.
Yeah, I kind of came back with the stick and hit all the big kids away.
Okay. So I remember that you got in a fight with a big kid and a small kid.
Right.
So that's all I remember. And I was told that you beat up the small kid, and then like you got wet or something, and then your mom said that you came back and had to beat up the big kid, but she never told me you used a stick.
Well, so I used a stick on that one.
I'm a little bit
What? The kid was 3 times bigger than I was. Was I supposed to use my fists?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Now that I think
yeah,
about it,
yeah. But you're a kid. I get it. You're outnumbered. So, you know, I guess there's a good thing I didn't know about all that. But then I remember there was another time that you got in trouble for. You got suspended from school.
Yeah, that was in middle school. So what happened with the story was I was going back from the school to the bus stop where we're supposed to get in and go back home. There was these kids bullying a little fifth grader, and he was super little compared to all the other kids, and there were 3 of them. So I stopped them from stealing his soda, and then after that, I was on their bad side for a little bit.
Yeah, it's never good to get on a group's bad side.
And then there was a leader. He had curly hair and all that. And he told me that he was going to get me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I said, go for it. So
bring a sack of lunch, boy.
So what I had...
And some Band-Aids.
So what I had was, after school, there was extracurricular activities. So I stayed back and did all of that. Well, I didn't know that he was a part of that as well. So we were standing in line, and we were listening to the teachers. And then he pushed me, and I pushed him back. Pushed me again.
And then it was on.
I picked him up and slammed him on the floor and started wailing this time.
Okay, did you
Which
get...
was different from the last fight, but...
Yeah, but I remember that you got a black eye, didn't you, or something?
Yeah.
Or a scratch or something, or he got you somehow?
I got a black eye.
So you didn't come out unscathed, did you?
No, I didn't come out unscathed. Yeah. Every time there was something that happened to me, a little scratch or...
Yeah, it seems the way that happens to everybody, in every fight. Like, well, not everybody. Not everybody. I take that back. There's going to be people online that are going to be popping up, screaming, what about this fight, this fight, this fight, this fight? Yes, okay. The majority of times, if you fight and if you train, you get hurt. That's just part of the business. And if you wrestle, if you know combat sports, if you know any contact sports, you know you're going to get injured. It happens.
Yeah.
So
just
you're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt. Just keep going. Yeah. Don't be afraid of it. Yeah, man. So, yeah. What else you want to talk about?
Well, my favorite thing to talk about you is your trucking and what happened to deer and animals that happens to... Because people like to hear about that. That's not a normal thing that happens to them.
What? Trucking?
Yeah.
Like...
If you see an animal, right, in a car, you usually stop before you hit it.
Oh, no,
When you're in a semi,
you keep going. You do not stop.
So that's a different experience.
There is no stop. The reason is you can't have that reaction to swerve or hit someone in a truck that size, because once it's out of control, it's out of control, and then people die. So that I quit trucking because of the everybody's on their phones. It's dangerous. And I don't want to be the person to kill somebody's young daughter or son because they're on their phone. And I've seen it way too much. People just not paying attention, and then they get road rage afterwards. But your question was again?
Well, my question was, whenever you're in a semi, right, and you have an animal and you hit it, what happens?
It explodes.
Explodes?
The deer like basically gets blown in half. It's bad. Cows blown in half, dude. these when you get hit with a truck that size, there's nothing left, and so it will take out, that truck will take out a whole family in a car, and it doesn't matter what the safety level of the car is. So, it's very important that we make sure that truckers get good sleep, mm-hmm. and that they are, that they're taken care of. They shouldn't be, they run stuff all over America. They shouldn't be considered riffraff. Sure, some of them are, trucking is one of the jobs that anybody can get that doesn't have a degree. They can actually make some pretty good money in their life to change their life. And I think that as long as they're doing it safely, trucking safely, they should be paid a good bit of coin to do so. As long as they're, honest, mm-hmm. and they stick with the law and they're not, doing speed or anything like that. Because when you get into the drug sides of things with truckers and stuff, the reason why a lot of them crash is because at some point that drug feeling runs out for them and they have to sleep, mm-hmm. and then they crash.
So like caffeine does that?
Caffeine does it. Any type of stimulants. Illegal drugs, no trucker should be doing illegal drugs. If you are doing illegal drugs, even if you have a cannabis card, stop trucking. Don't do it anymore. It's very important that you do not get behind the wheel of a truck if you are under the influence of cannabis at any time, or any other drug, or alcohol. Just don't do it. You can end up killing somebody, and it's not worth it. With that being said, though, we need to treat truckers with the utmost respect, because they are giving a piece of their life going on the road every day, and it is very dangerous in that truck when it's slick outside, and the conditions aren't good, and you're coming down a mountain. Okay, things aren't, so don't mess with truckers. Get out of their way, give them their space, get them, if yield to them. They don't want to cause an accident. They don't want to hurt you, and they would rather put that truck in a tree or off a cliff than take out a family, because that's what we were taught to do when we get that CDL. That, would you be able to live with yourself if you took out a family?
I don't think so.
I wouldn't be able to, especially, if I knew I didn't sleep right. That's the other thing, is I had to get out of trucking. I couldn't sleep right. I can't, me. Mm-hmm. I'm a thinker. So, I don't sleep very well at night because I think about a lot of problems that probably aren't even my problems. They're just world problems, and my brain doesn't want to stop.
They're not even your problems. That's not even a part of your job.
Yeah, it's
you
not.
Just think about them.
But I'm sitting here like, oh, why are they doing this? Why is this happening? And
well, we could dive that.
But we can do that stuff later. Right now, we're on this topic, and the truckers, you got to give them props. If you see a trucker, they need a coffee, buy them a coffee, get them a donut, say thank you, because they're transporting stuff. Yeah, they're getting paid for it, but they're also like, some of them aren't getting paid for it, if you know what I mean. They're getting the shaft. There are guys out there that aren't getting the right amount of money for the jobs that they're doing, and they're marginalized. Just like everybody. Everybody likes to marginalize everybody else here. So, give them the benefit of the doubt. And if you own a trucking company and you're Mr. Moneybags, come off your nest a little bit. Hook your drivers up. Don't be stingy.
Well, I have another question for you. So, people like to always hear about degrees and what you have. So, what's your education?
Oh, I have an education in life of hard freaking knocks. No, I've got, I quit school at the age of, how old are you?
Well, 16.
I quit the age of 16.
Wow.
I walked out of school. I got in a fight with the teacher, walked out, ended up doing some jobs, getting a house, going to get my GED, and then going to college to get some other type of degree program through college in Kansas City. Then I went into the military. So then I got that military degree. You guys in the military, you know what that means. Got to get squared away. Some of you that aren't squared away, well, you know what it means anyway. But then I got a degree from Emporia State University in communication with a focus in public relation. So it basically says that I have a degree that says I know how to talk to people. But I got the degree because I wanted to try to be able to be around people more and not be like the way I am.
Right.
So...
And we could have a whole episode.
We could have a million of those, but, you know, that's another thing. But yeah, you know, I have my degree in communication and public relation, and shout out to all my Hornets out there. Stingers up.
Well,
yeah.
I have one last question, which would be, I know you lived in many places, but where have you lived the longest?
Oh, I don't even know. I don't even know.
Because
I split my time between here and Japan.
Right. And people want to hear about
Japan?
Yeah.
Japan.
Japan.
Okay. Japan is just like any other country. It has its own dynamics. You know, Japan's dynamic is very, I don't know. It's almost impossible, but they make it possible.
Well, I would say the dynamic is more
dynamic.
Cultural. Yeah, dynamic.
Dynamic.
Sorry, Japanese.
We might be able to cut that out too.
Oh, it's fine. It shows a little bit about Japanese.
Well,
and like halves.
And it's our first one.
Right.
So, what did you want to know about the dynamic?
No, I would say that the dynamic is more cultural.
Okay, it's okay. So
it's like it's
at some
tradition.
point, which when I was there, Japan had kind of a small realization that their country was being westernized too much, and they were losing their culture. And I can understand that because I was there and it was very Western, which is very good. But there's a very underside of Japanese culture that is there that's very thick.
Right.
So, like, for example, the culture is immediate family. If immediate family was like, okay, they're nationalist. Okay.
Right.
Japanese they're nationalists. They love everything that their country does, which is fantastic. I've never seen it really before, because here we always have like the soccer guys will be for the World Cup, right? But not everybody will be for the World Cup unless they're doing good. And then even then everybody won't be for the World Cup, right? So even then people will be like, I don't care about soccer, right? Japan is not like that. If they get somebody in the top, it doesn't matter. They've got people just cheering. As soon as the Olympics hit, they're like,
if you're Japanese,
you're
just
going
part of the team.
You're part of the team. Let's go. That's us up there. You know, you're very identifiable, and then it's one of those things where they take pride in the fact that they are Japanese, just the same way that we take pride that we're Americans. Some of us do. Some of us obviously don't, because you're walking around with pink hair and dresses. And everybody's watching. Other countries are watching. So that's not masculinity at all.
Well, you're not trying to represent.
You're not representing your country. You're representing something else.
Usually.
Yeah. And that's another thing, is like divided we get conquered, boys and girls. So just keep your antennas up. But yeah, anyway, back to the subject at hand, because I get off on these tangents and you're going to have to reel me back all the time. But anyway, go ahead.
All right. So you talked about culture and how they noticed that Japanese people noticed it.
They were losing their culture, yeah. Yeah, so they really, really emphasize, you know, at some point, they're the underbelly, the very, I want to almost say like the very serious Japanese. And when I mean serious Japanese, I mean everything is tradition, and they don't want intermediate family members that are in law enforcement. If your brother is in law enforcement and you're a criminal, it'll never happen. They don't do intermediate family criminal organization stuff.
Right.
And then if intermediate family gets caught, say like if I was running drugs or something,
and I was a cop,
and you were a cop, then in America that could happen, right? But not in Japan. They won't allow that to happen, and they won't allow it in the government. So, and if they find it, they get rid of it really quickly, and then the guys are usually so embarrassed that they commit suicide because they've just shamed their whole family name. So there's just a whole nother underbelly of like honor that is there. There's a lot of honor. So your name, it holds weight in what you do.
Right.
And then you follow the system, and if you don't, even Yakuza have that honor, right? So, and that's your honor as a person, as a man, or your family honor, even women. So like with women, certain women, if they betray their men, and they feel that they've been wronged, or they feel that they've wronged their man, they'll kill themselves because they were wrong, because they don't want to live with the shame. So the forgiveness level there isn't very high.
Yeah. Like, I had a problem of asking questions because I was ashamed of being wrong. But that was just...
The shame level is really, really high. Yeah. So it's just one of those things that you don't bring shame to your family, you don't bring shame to your friend group, you don't bring shame to your gym. You
don't bring shame to yourself.
You don't bring shame to yourself. And then, but at the same time, they understand there's a process.
Right.
Right?
Everybody makes mistakes.
Everybody makes mistakes, but certain mistakes are made, and you have to separate that you shouldn't get privileges because you've made those certain mistakes. And that should be everywhere, and it kind of is here in America. I mean, if you're a criminal, you go to jail, then you can't do certain things.
But I would say the family dynamic is different.
The dynamic of the family is a little bit different. Well, yeah, a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have individualistic family values here. So it's like as soon as you turn 18, you're out of the house in America. And that's like standard across all American like households.
In Japan.
Yeah. And in Japan, it's completely the opposite.
You're supposed to stay.
You stay home. And you help the family, and you work together, and you build business, and you build profit together. And that's the only way to win, because everybody else is just out here to get you. And if you look at it, if you look at how we're set up as a system, we're set up as a consumer, consumer society.
A free market.
It's consumer society. Yeah. So everything that we do has to do with consumerism, right? We buy, right? So everything is geared towards buying, and you can't make smart decisions, or smart decisions are made in groups within the family when you can sit down and talk with your family, and then you can come to a decision that might be beneficial or bad for the family. So like you sit down and you're like, okay, well, I want to buy this new car. And then dad's like, well, if you buy that new car, because, it's always like 2 heads are better than one type of thing.
Right.
Right? We're always taught, 2 heads are better than one, 2 heads are better than one. Well, 6 heads are better than one. 6 heads of your family and the people that have already experienced this life are a lot better than one TV telling you what to do.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is that we've found a way here in America through consumerism to split apart families.
And that shouldn't be.
And it shouldn't be that way. We need to keep families together, because if we stick together, we make smarter decisions. Money-wise, I mean, think about it. Do you really want to be paying, somebody for their new apartment building in downtown LA when you could be living in, Santa Cruz or Santa Barbara. I don't know. I don't
With
know.
your
Where
family.
was I?
No, you're
when you can
supposed
live
to
with
say
your when you can live with your mom
Yeah.
and your family, and you get to share family moments before they leave this earth, and you get to go on vacations, and you get to keep the money in the family, So a lot of this consumerism divides the family, and they make profit off the division of the family. And that's the thing. That's what nobody wants to tell you, is that all of this is just so that little dollar sign above your head, like in all those games, is just getting depleted. It's just going down. So the more you're away from your family, the more money you're spending, the more time you're missing with mom and dad.
But
right?
You're spending it with other people too.
Well, I mean, could you be?
Could you be? Yes.
I mean,
but
your intermediate family, that could be something.
Right.
But you have to stick with your intermediate family and then grow that from there. Strong roots, big tree, right?
Right. Strong roots, big tree.
Yeah. So that's the other thing, is if you got strong roots, then you get a big tree.
You're right.
So
I think that's the last topic I have for you. So
I guess that concludes our first show
Yes,
on
sir.
this East Passover.
Yeah. So you say your name. I
Easter.
say
Happy
mine.
Easter.
Happy Easter.
I'm Steve Brown.
And I'm Owen Brown, and this was On the Mat.
Yeah. Hey.